Welcome back to the Barbells and Trails podcast, everybody. We're back. That was a terrible intro.
that was a pretty bad intro. Gotta admit.
But
not our best. Our last intro, I have to admit, was pretty good.
Yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna run with it right here. I was like, this works. So, like, no one just kind of went for it. So that's kind of what we did this time. We're just kind of rolling right into it. So, all right, yeah. Hey, everybody, we're back. Episode 3. I think everybody enjoyed the last episode. I mean, I think the Johnny Depp stuff was definitely pretty interesting. And it seems like in general, the whole situation just keeps escalating for the most part and keeps going on.
It does.
I feel like that trial is
going to be over.
I don't know. I don't know if that trial is ever going to end at this point. But
it's just going to keep going on for years.
Yeah,
free content. I mean,
true.
I'll keep watching it. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's true. But since we're getting into it, I guess let's just do a little catch up. Is there anything you have done this week that's interesting?
Well, let's see. Training again is going pretty well. I have such a boring life. Literally, I wake up, I work out, I do school, I go to work, I work out again, I do more school, and I sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday I did do, we had a track meet, and I did, I think it's 4x4. So 4 people run a 400-meter race. It's a relay race.
How'd you do?
That was the first time I ever did it. Okay. I mean, I had ran the steeplechase like a couple hours before, and I was feeling pretty beat up from the week of training. But, I mean, I'm happy with how I did.
Cool.
I mean, our team still got 4th. So, all this, like, I wasn't even supposed to be running it. But when the event, like, literally, like, 40 minutes before the event, all the sprinters were like, we're not doing this. Like, we don't want to do it. And so I had to step up and step in and try to, like, it was me and a pole vaulter. And, like, both of us, just, like, we were just going to have fun with it. And then we had our 2, like mid-distance crew do it. And it was okay. It was okay. Not the result we wanted, but it was fun.
I mean, you did better than me. I know that.
I don't know. It was crazy. It was like I was trying to run as fast as I could for 400 meters, and by the end of it, I felt like my eyes were going to pop out of my socket.
Oh, okay. Well, damn. But by the way, I mean, I know this isn't going out on that day, but we're recording on Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all mothers that have birthed children out there.
Yes.
Did you do anything for your mother?
Wait, what other mothers?
I
There's no other type of mothers. Every mother has to birth out a kid to be a mom.
Adopted?
Oh, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't they get a happy Mother's Day, Brett?
They do. I'm not saying they do. Sorry, shit. That was a bad example. That made me look really bad. No, happy Mother's Day to all women with children.
Wait, what if a mom had a kid but the kid died? Do they still not get a happy Mother's Day?
No, because they don't have a child.
Dude, that's kind of messed up.
That was really dark. No, I can't believe you brought that up. Wow.
I know.
Well, were you a good son? Did you get anything for your mother for Mother's Day? I mean,
yeah,
obviously you live in Oregon, but
I got her great phone conversation with me. I called her.
That's
wish
pretty.
her happy Mother's Day.
It's pretty.
Okay,
pretty priceless.
but my mom is very hard to shop for. Like, she doesn't really like gifts. Like, she doesn't like flowers. She doesn't really like candles.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't really like she likes acts of service, and it's really
Oh
hard to do
yeah,
acts of
that's
service
true.
when I'm 1,900 miles away.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
So
that's kind of the same for me. My mom is hard to get gifts because she's very picky and whatever else. Only if Mother's Day was like 2 weeks down the road, I could have got her a case of beer, and I feel like she would have appreciated that. But
that's true.
so we just kind of went for it. We got her some flowers. She doesn't we didn't get her like a vase, we didn't do that.
Hmm.
We just got flowers for like landscaping because she enjoys doing stuff like that. But that and a couple gift cards. But other than that, no,
Nice.
she's usually pretty hard to buy for. I never know what to get for Christmas.
I never know what to get basically anybody for anything. I'm a horrible gift giver. Like I have to like sit down and like really think about it for each person on what to get them.
Yeah, that's fair. And as for my week, honestly, kind of the same as you. My week's I live a pretty boring life. I wake up, I go to work, I usually hit the gym, I come home, I eat, shower, sleep. Like I don't do anything too crazy. I
Yeah,
was gonna
dude,
say
literally, like
I ran a 5K this week. But
yeah, how'd
other than
that go?
that, honestly went really well. It's the first 5K I've technically ran in almost a year. So, considering that, I mean, it went well though. I'm kind of preparing for a 5K, so that's why I'm just gonna trying to run more, do a little less weightlifting. But other than that, I didn't really do anything super spectacular there this week.
There you go. Well, at least you got some stuff in. I mean, the
True.
5K sounds pretty impressive.
Um, Not to you. You used to
Nah,
run like a 5K every day, pretty much.
I still do.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Just because of
But that's
cross
me.
country.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm different. I've been in this for quite a few years.
You've been in the game for so damn long.
I've been in the game for so long. A
Okay,
decade.
that's true. A decade. That's a fact. I've been in it like
Yeah.
barely over 2 years, so I'm learning still.
Yeah, I remember my first run ever cuz I told mom it was like 11 is when I like first saw like my first like race, but like 12 is when I first like started training for it. Um and I remember my first run ever. It was only a mile and it wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible, but I still hated training.
So speaking of running, we didn't necessarily have too much of a topic planned for this week. As we said, I think next week we do have one that's a little more in depth. For the most part, we have one that we're probably going to run with for the majority of the podcast. This one's going to be we're going to kind of wing it still a little bit. We're still just kind of getting in the groove of things. But
Yep.
it's been mentioned in the past two podcasts. And considering the first episode had more stories around me, and because you didn't know what to talk about, we're gonna talk about your elusive life of OCR racing, or running.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've been in, so OCR stands for Obstacle Course Racing, for anybody that doesn't know that. And what it is if you ever seen a Spartan race or a Tough Mudder, that's an obstacle course race. Basically, it's anywhere from, I mean, it can be any distance. They have some obstacle course races where it's only like a 400-meter run. So it's any distance, basically from, I guess, 400 meters to, I think the longest one is, I don't know, 30, 40 miles. They have some that are 24 hours
Yeah.
long, where you just do loops of the course, but they have different obstacles that you have to climb, traverse over, you have to lift heavy objects, just certain stuff. And I've been doing that competitively for, like roughly 10 years. And yeah.
I was gonna say I've known you like we talked about 6 years, and I mean you've done it ever since then. I gotta admit I've never done one. I still feel like I'm going to definitely at one point in my life.
Yeah,
It's basically guaranteed.
yeah.
I would love to do like a Tough Mudder or Spartan race or something like that. It just sounds like a very very interesting but fun day for sure.
We got to get you into one like
Yeah.
soon this year.
Oh man, that'd be interesting for sure. But I was gonna say you've done it since what? You started when you were about 10 or a little older than 10,
So
roughly.
I started when I was. So how I got into it, like my first race I was ever at was when I was 11, and it was my mom was doing a race, and how you get a free race is if you volunteer, and so she made me volunteer so she could get a free race. So I volunteered, and I remember I was like a super small, skinny kid, and I remember seeing just the elites come up the hill because I was at a water station, and they're just like blowing past me, jumping over the obstacles, and my first thought was that is what I'm going to do with my life. That is what I want. Um, and then that just kind of started it, and so I asked my mom, I'm like, hey, can I do this? Like, I want to start training for it. And so like the next year, I did it. I got my first trifecta. And a trifecta is where you do three of these Spartan races, where Spartan race has a sprint, super, and a beast. A sprint is a 5K, super is a 10K, and a beast is 13 miles, whatever that is in K's.
Basically a half marathon.
Yeah, it's a half marathon.
Yeah.
And yeah, at 12 I got my first trifecta. 13 I got a double trifecta, and that's just where you do um, well, two trifectas, so 6 races. And yeah, just from there, just I kept on doing more and more Spartan races and obstacle course racing and getting more competitive. I also started doing different endurance events where, like, for 4 to 12 hours, you sign up for this event to basically get tortured like you were in boot camp. It's like boot camp shoved into 12 hours. It's great. I love it. It changed my life. It's so much fun. Um, and yeah,
I was gonna say nobody's been in your bedroom, but yeah, no one listening I don't think has been. But I have.
yeah.
This man has probably 100 pounds worth of medals from Spartan races alone. Like there's so many, you could mold it into a cannonball pretty much. Like there's
That
so
would be
many
kinda
medals.
cool.
That would be kind of cool.
One guy, he took all his medals from over the years and he turned it. He was a blacksmith, and he turned all the medals into a sword. It's pretty cool. I was like, man, I
That's
should
pretty
do
cool.
that because
You easily could.
because I haven't just done Spartan racing, and like I've done marathons and half marathons and tons of different races, and I've been blessed to have that opportunity and the health and the training to do it. I did, funny thing is, when I first started, I hated training. Now I love it. Like I love training more than I love competing. But when I started out, I hated training. I hated it so much that when I was training for my first half marathon, my mom, she kept on checking my watch, my Garmin watch, to see if I did my mileage of the day. And so one day she went to the grocery store, and I'm like, I'm not doing my 7 mile run. And so I hop on my bike and I start biking. And I look down and I'm holding like since I'm on a bike, it's like a 3 minute, 2 minute mile. I'm like, oh, I gotta slow down. And so I slowed way down. I did 7 miles on that stupid bike. And when I got back, I showed mom my watch, and she's like, "Wow, you went really fast today." Yes, I did. But my half marathon went horribly. After that, I learned that it was
Really?
important to train.
Yee.
Oh, dude, it was so bad.
What?
So
I was
bad.
gonna say, was it like the one down in Indy, or was it one somewhere
Yeah,
else?
it was the Carmel half marathon.
Okay, because I
And
know the one in Indy
dude,
just happened yesterday.
oh, it did?
Yeah,
Cool.
my sister was down there, to basically cheer on and see one of her teachers because one of her teachers went and ran it. But yeah,
Cool.
I yeah, that'd be crazy. I've only done like. See, you've done all this stuff. I've done technically 3 5Ks in my life officially. Like I probably ran more 5Ks just running or training for 5Ks, but 4 actual 5Ks or three. And the first one I did was with my uncle, which was just I'm trying to remember. This was probably 2013, I think, and it was
Mm.
for it's kind of as a memorial race for fallen officers and firefighters in Indiana. So it was the
Cool.
year that one cop up in our county died in that accident. I don't know if you remember that. I can't remember the guy's name, but
Yeah.
yeah. So that was one reason why we were down there, and he invited us because my uncle lived in Indy for a long
Hmm.
time. So that one was like through the I can't remember what the cemetery is down in Indy, but the large cemetery. It's like technically I think the second largest cemetery in the country or something like that. Like it's massive. Um,
Dang.
so it's basically through the cemetery, whatever else. So the cemetery is so large in Indy that it has its own population of deer living in the cemetery.
I did not know that. That's crazy.
So and it also has the highest point in Marion County, but I mean that's not necessarily super hard considering most of it is all developed, but it does have the highest
Yeah.
point of the county, so it kind of runs up there, and you got to go up that hill and around like the monument and go back down. And I think I had like a 45-minute 5K. I mean, but it's not like I prepared for it by any means, and I was like 12
Mhm.
years old.
Yeah.
But it was pretty
We
cool.
should get you signed up for like I think you should sign up for a half marathon.
Hmm.
I think you should.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
would be a fun experience.
I definitely want to run a marathon eventually. Like that's
Then
kind of.
let's sign you up for a marathon.
I was gonna say, well,
Let's just do
I
the
probably
big
should.
leagues.
I mean, I
That's
definitely want
that's
to
what I
work.
did.
I kind of want to work my way up to it, but I know it's something I want to do, and I know I to do it. I definitely have a long way training wise. But yeah,
Nah,
it's definitely something
you
kind
could
of on my
train
bucket
for it
list.
in like give yourself 12 weeks of good training. You could do it. You could do a marathon in 12 weeks.
It's true. Yeah. Do they do? Is there any marathons in Indiana? Like any big places
Oh
do
yeah.
them? I guess I haven't really heard of any.
I mean, yeah, I could look into it. I mean, I've done every marathon I've done except one has been in Indiana.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fair.
Like my favorite marathon to the date is Little Rock, Arkansas. That marathon was so amazing. So great. The entire town got together to like support all the runners. And so like every mile or two, someone had like was handing out food. And not just like Cliff Bars and like protein. It was like one guy, he was on the street grilling pineapple. And so that was the first time I ever had grilled pineapple. It was amazing. One lady, she was handing out like French toast and cinnamon rolls and different pastries. And so like every mile I was just like shoving my face with like so much food, and it was my favorite marathon. The best time I ever had a marathon. It was so great. That was that was a pretty awesome trip.
I was gonna say
My first
that sounds
marathon
like a
went horrible.
pretty cool place. I mean,
We should do it.
this is kind of a tangent, but speaking of like foods and marathons, there is a guy I've listened to kind of do an interview. I think he's known as, I think his nickname is the world's hardest geezer, and he's a guy from
Oh
England.
yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah, and he runs marathons basically all the time, and he
Yeah.
just kind of got into it. I think with how it sounded, like pretty randomly, and I think he has like the quickest record from running from Asia to England. So like that was like one of
Damn.
his biggest feats. But I think he also has like a bunch of other records set from like marathon pulling a car in the fastest time and marathon doing this and that. Like I think I've heard some stories that he's like ran a marathon drunk where he like downed a
Oh
pint,
gosh,
I think,
that
or
would be
he
horrible.
downed a beer every mile. And then another one where he like ate the McDonald's menu, like ate a item off the menu every mile. And I think by the end of it, he was
That would
definitely
that'd
he
be
was sick.
worse.
Oh, he was sick by the end of it, but he did
Oh,
it. He did
that
it.
would be horrible. I would rather. I don't know. What would you rather do? Run a marathon like drunk, or run a marathon eating McDonald's every mile?
You know, I think I would take the car. Can I have the car?
Actually, yeah, me too. I would rather pull a car for a marathon.
Yeah, I mean
than
that would still be, oh, that'd be rough. But like I think I would rather do that besides those other two, definitely.
Yeah. I do kind of want to do a marathon someday, pulling a car.
That would be interesting. But I don't think
It would be
they're
fun.
super large cars because I think they're
Yeah,
they're from the UK. So most cars over there are smaller in general. I can't remember what the
Mhm.
weight is, but it's probably like 700 pounds or more.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
I don't know. I know the guy Ross
still.
Edgley. I love Ross Edgley. But a guy named Ross Edgley did the same thing, and I'm pretty sure with the same car, and it wasn't a very big car.
Yeah, I don't think they're super large.
Still-
but still, yeah.
It's got to
Still
be hard as heck.
Yeah, that's a lot of weight to drag.
Like,
That'd be interesting
Yeah.
for sure. But
lots of calories during that race.
oh yeah, yeah, definitely. But so I was gonna say I know in general from when we first met and even afterwards for a long time. Obviously, you still do a lot of races now with school and whatever else. But I know that like you've definitely had a lot. A more abnormal childhood than most. One, just being
Yeah.
homeschooled in general, which is very uncommon, compared to people that just end up in public school, obviously. But so that's
Yeah.
one thing. But something that kind of attributed to that, and I feel like honestly kind of helped, was that you did end up doing a lot of the Spartan races and other races along those kinds, because like you had more time to train and in the end more free time. And then you and your mom would go to different races all the time through the summer. Like it seemed like every weekend
Yeah.
after we met and we were talking, I'd basically be like, "Hey, what you doing?" And then you're like, "Oh, I'm in Alabama doing a race, or I got a race next
Yeah.
week here, or whatever else." And you were basically at some competition like almost every weekend or every other weekend.
It was awesome. I remember one month in the summer. I think I was at a race every single weekend, and it was so awesome. I'm so blessed to have that experience, and especially being homeschooled. I mean, that was awesome because I was able to basically wake up early, get training in, eat breakfast, do school, um, go run, eat lunch, do some more school, then just train again. And it was awesome. And I got in like the best shape ever. I learned so much about the human body and how to train it. Um, and yeah, I mean it was awesome. I loved it, and hopefully someday I can make it my job because I would just love to do that. I loved just the whole community. I loved, hopefully, I inspired other people to, you know, chase after their goals, and
Mm-hmm.
whether it be fitness or in life.
Yeah.
Um, it was just awesome, and I was around so many positive and so many cool people, and I mean, winning races and was nice, but that was only part of it. It was just
I definitely feel like
everything.
the best part is probably the community in the long run for sure.
Oh
So I feel
yeah,
like in
and
something like
even
that, like everybody's super positive, everybody's working towards the same goal, and
hmm
that's kind of how I feel in general for the most part in the gym. It's just like everybody's there. Obviously, they have different goals in mind, but everybody's there kind of for the same reasons for the most part. And so
yeah,
it's definitely the fitness atmosphere is definitely a very cool one to be around for the most part. There's definitely some douchebags, but that you find those anywhere. But
oh yeah.
most people are very genuine and pretty nice people for the most part, and especially if they're older, they definitely have a lot of experience or and stuff like that. But so
Yeah, I've
speaking,
definitely raced against some guys that are just not fun to race against. Like I've gotten kicked off obstacles before, and that's not fun.
yeah, probably not. There's definitely probably a few people that are super competitive, which makes sense. I mean, with anything like that,
I
that's
mean,
gonna happen.
yeah, I'm super competitive, but I mean, there's a difference between being super competitive, and like just a bad sportsman. Because
True,
I've raced
true.
against a lot of bad sportsmen.
Yeah. So speaking of this, obviously you got into it pretty young and in general just did it for a long time. You've been to a lot of races. Is there any I don't know, is there any just crazy stories or or situations you've gotten into? I mean, I think there's a few I can account off the top of my head where I think you said you ran into some wildlife at some races. Um and just stuff like that. Is there any just stories from being around it for so long that I don't know, you feel like would be interesting to tell?
I I mean, one time it was in West Virginia. It was the North American Spartan Race Championship, and I was running it, and it was I think 10 miles into it, and all of a sudden I felt like a giant, like it felt like someone stabbed me, and then I felt another stab. Maybe it wasn't as bad as a stab, but it hurt, and basically I ran into a giant. There was a swarm of wasps, swarming the trailhead, and I ran straight into it, and I got stung like 5 times. That sucked. But I feel like another interesting story, or I guess an interesting event that is very close to my heart because it it was just awesome. Is called the Gauntlet. It's in Georgia, so it's not like a Spartan race. It's an endurance event. It's a 30 plus hour endurance event. So it's sort of like a boot camp shoved into 30 to 40 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so my first one, it was in the winter, and it was cold, very cold. I think I was 15. I think I was 15 or 16. I want to say 15. But um so going through the whole event, it was very challenging, and like I can't even remember everything we did. Um but at the end of it, and they don't tell you when the end is, but so it's like 38 hours into 37 or 38 hours into this, and you're not allowed to sleep during it, and we all had a goose egg that we had to get at the very beginning of the race. We had to take all our clothes off and jump in this pond
Whoa, wait a
and
second.
swim across to. Yeah, okay, I'll back up. So at the start of this event, the first thing was we all had to do. I think it was as a team we had to do 1,000 burpees together. Um, and so one person would do like 10, 20 burpees, and then the next person would do 10 or 20 burpees. But while we were doing that, one at a time, we had to jump into this pond, swim across, grab this tin can that was filled with, it was like a goose egg, a plastic baggie full of something and something else, and then we had to swim back. And it was cold, like snow was on the ground, and it was, I forget what time it was, but it was dark. It was not warm whatsoever. Um, and so like you're allowed to jump in with your clothes on, but that's not a smart idea because then you're just spending the rest of the time super wet and you would just get really cold and get hypothermia. Uh, so
We'll
I
get to
stripped
that
all my
later.
clothes off. Yeah, yeah. So I stripped all my clothes off, jumped in, and I actually almost drowned because I freaked out because of the cold water. I guess I've always never been good with cold water.
Yeah, I guess so.
Um, but so at the end of the event, that goose egg, we had to start a fire with flint and steel and boil the goose egg. And I'm not the smartest guy, and I'm really not smart. Like 40 hours into an event, and so
Oh,
I forgot how to boil an egg.
oh my lord. Well, you were
And
the
so I
top of
put
your
the
class.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I put this egg in the water. It starts like the water starts boiling, and I look up to the Cryptea, and I'm like, "This means it's boiled, right? Because the water's boiled, so the egg is like cooked, right?" And the lady's like, "One way to find out, Noah." And she
Oh
just like
no.
shakes her head. I'm like, "Ah, okay." So I dump the water out. I take the egg out. I like crack it a little bit. It's definitely not cooked. I'm like, "Ah, shoot." So I have to put it back in there, cook it again, and like I did this like 3 times, just taking it in and out, and finally I cooked it. It
You
wasn't hard
cracked it
boiled.
too?
I cracked it, yeah,
Oh no.
but it was the best egg I've
Could you
ever
have just
had. It
at
was.
that point you should have just been like, "Can I make a poached egg?" And just like freaking cracked it into the
Oh no,
boiling
it
water.
actually was poached.
It
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 was
was
finally just
basically
like a
poached.
poached
Yeah.
egg.
Makes sense.
It was like it was cooked on the outside, but the inside was runny. But it tasted amazing.
You were like, "What?
It,
Does this count?"
I no, I actually said that exact thing. I'm like, does this count? And the Cryptea, she just like smiles and sure. And then I ate the egg, and man, I was great.
I was gonna say most people, I guess, don't totally know what you do in these races. I mean, I know just from obviously listening to stories and whatever else and seeing stuff. So obviously, I think some people have heard of Spartan races or Tough Mudders, but I mean, I know in some, especially like the endurance events, you've talked about how like you've had to carry like PVC pipe full of rocks and random stuff like
That
that,
one
and
sucked.
or a backpack full of shit and whatever else, and or obviously doing the regular obstacle course races where it's kind of like a boot camp situation where it's muddy and like crawling through
Hmm.
mud under wire or something along those lines, or climbing over a wall. I was gonna say, is there anything like, obviously that one is definitely very unique, I feel like, for a race, is to well, that wasn't a part of the race, was it? The boiling of the egg. It was like,
So yeah, that wasn't
that was
necessarily
just
a
at the
race.
end.
That's more of an event. So those I would qualify those as like extreme endurance events,
Yeah.
if you will. And so those aren't technically races. Like
Yeah,
those
it's a
are
little different because that stuff isn't timed like first one done wins. It's more of a, this
yeah,
is how
I
long
mean,
it takes.
so
This is everything you got to do. Everybody,
yeah,
like,
it's a
yeah.
like they have a like so throughout the 30 plus hours, and they have this for basically each like endurance event is they have time hacks, and so they'll give us like okay, you need to run to this place, and you have this amount of time. Then they usually don't tell you what time you have, and so you just gotta book it to this next place and hope you make it in time.
Hmm.
And some people they don't make it in time, and then they get cut, and so they can't keep going. And so it's always kind of like racing against the clock,
Yeah,
or
it's a different scenario than like a regular Spartan race or something like that. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
structured differently.
The Spartan Race Hurricane Heats, they've now kind of changed the format to where it's a point system. So each event that you do in the like 12 hours, you get an amount of points. And at the end, if you don't have enough points, you get cut. And you can always just tap out during in the middle of the event, which a lot of people do. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how they're structured.
Okay, fair enough. I was gonna say at least the story I remember you telling about, the one I was kind of referencing with the wildlife, was, I think there was one. I can't remember where you said you were. I think it was like South Carolina, North Carolina. It was one of the Carolinas. I know there's two.
With the bears?
Yeah, the bears, and then I think deer as well.
Oh yeah, that was an endurance event or an obstacle course race actually.
What was that one?
That was my first that's technically my first ultra marathon without obstacles. It was a super fun race too. Because it was super unique, where they had a bunch of different trails. So they had, I think, like 5 different trails, and basically it was a 60-mile race. Like each trail back and forth was just 60 miles. But you had to roll a dice, and whatever your dice landed on is the trail that you had to go down. And to finish the race, you had to complete each trail going both ways, because each trail had 2 ways to do it. Um, and you had 24 hours to do this. So a lot of people, they rack up 100 miles just trying to get each trail. And so a lot of times you're just doing the same trail over and over and over again because you keep rolling the same thing. But unfortunately, I didn't get the full 24 hours. Like I was at 66 miles. I had like 2 more trails to do, and I was trying to roll it. But a mama bear was on the trail and kept on growling at racers as they were going past, because it was like midnight, so we couldn't see. We just kept hearing growling, and eventually one of the racers saw
just keep running past them. It's fine.
Just keep running. Like it just makes you run faster.
I
saw
guess
like
so.
a bunch of cubs, and so they had to stop the race, which I was very sad about, because I was in second place, and I was only a couple miles behind the leading guy.
Yeah.
And man, that was a really fun one.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I was gonna say I didn't realize that was an ultra marathon. I just knew, like, you would just, like, I would like text you or something in the week and be like, hey, you want to hang out this weekend? You're like, nah, I'm out of state. I'm like, where are you now? You're like, I'm running. And and then you just come back and be like, well, this happened, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And like, you just come back like tell me like crazy random stuff, and I'm like, I don't even know what you do out there in the woods. What are you actually doing this with people, or are you just by yourself running around? Like
That one, I mean, there was a pretty good group of people doing it, but most of the time you're just running the trails by yourself. Like I was trying to get each trail done as fast as I possibly could, and I hope I explained how that race worked.
No, I think
okay,
you did.
because
Yeah.
it is kind of a confusing setup, but it was such a fun one. But they haven't put it on since, unfortunately.
No, yeah, I was gonna say, I know that was a race that I just know that was one in particular that you were like, yeah, this happened, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. I was like, is that normal? Like, I was like, what do you mean there was a bear?
Yeah, that's actually pretty normal for
Which,
those
yeah,
kind of races.
yeah, depending on where you are, yeah, that definitely makes sense,
Yeah.
though. But I was just like, oh, okay. Like, you're like, yeah, it actually, like, got canceled halfway. There was a bear here, and I saw a bear, and I was just like, oh. I was like, I didn't, what did I do this weekend? Like, shit, homework? like, I don't know.
I was like, nah, screw homework. I'm gonna go run. It was so much fun.
Well, so okay, so I think we're gonna transition here a bit. So something else that's
Okay.
been hinted at, which oh, what's that? Ah,
Oh,
bless
bless you.
me. Excuse me.
Bless you.
But that we've hinted at now, also in the past two episodes, which deals with running, was your story at Tahoe, and everything that happened there. Obviously, let's just say it didn't go to plan.
No, it definitely did not
No,
go to
yeah,
plan
that's
whatsoever.
definitely a
That
good way
whole
to
week,
describe
didn't
it.
it?
Yeah, no, definitely
Um,
not. I didn't know if you
yeah,
wanted to get
that,
into that. Oh, we could kind
yeah,
of tell that
sure.
story.
So Tahoe was, it's the Spartan World Championship, and the year prior, I had done it. I got third in my age group, and so I was third in the world. Super happy about that. Um, and so I got the chance to go again, and so I was training. I felt very fit. Um, but even leading up to the race, I was staying with a family that just kind of like I met them once in a prior race, like 2 years prior, and I, me and their daughter were just messaging back and forth because we were good friends,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and then just one thing led to another, and the family was like, "Yeah, you can come and stay with us at Tahoe. We're going," and so went to Tahoe, um, and I was, I have to admit, I was very anxious to like. I didn't want to like eat all their food, so I didn't even properly like eat beforehand. Um, so like during and the race, man, I'm very bad at telling stories. Let me get focused.
Yeah.
So the day prior, didn't eat good at all. In the morning, my race was at um like 8 or 9. It got pushed up because it was so cold. Like the wind chill was like negative 17. It was very cold, and I wasn't prepared for that. I hadn't brought like warm clothes because the year prior it was very warm. And so a lot of people like let me borrow a small jacket, some gloves, um, and some pants. And so the race finally starts. It's very cold, and my body just was not feeling good whatsoever. Like I wasn't feeling fast. I wasn't feeling there, and
I was gonna say, what
the
elevation? What were you probably at too, considering where you were?
I'm not even sure,
I
but
was
it
gonna
was
say I don't
high.
know.
Like
Yeah,
it's a
I mean it's
good
like Tahoe.
elevation.
It's up in the mountains. Like,
Yes, it was, and so
and
the start of the
and
race,
this
like the first,
was
I want to say,
in. I'm trying to think. What month was this in?
2019.
Yeah, this was like,
This was Sep- September,
yeah, fallish.
October, fall.
But
Yeah, fallish.
obviously, where you were is probably 30 degrees or less, right?
It was less. It was I think it was below 20.
Makes sense.
And so on the top of the mountain because we had to climb up a mountain. So I had a at the start of the race, like I don't know, the first half of the race is just you're climbing up this giant mountain, and as you're climbing up, it just keeps getting colder, and you keep getting into more clouds, and it starts raining and snowing and sleeting and hailing, and as you get once I got to the top, we had water obstacles, and some of the water obstacles they had to take out because they were just frozen solid. Um, but so my body just was not feeling good as soon as I got to the top. Um, but I was trying to hold on to, the front of the pack. Um, and so I did this one obstacle where you climb up a rope and then you climb across this rope ladder. Um, and then you have to drop down into water. And dropping down into the water is when things started going very badly. because I dropped down and my plan was to try to land and get as less wet as possible. But when I landed, my footing, I didn't get proper footing, and so like
Mm-hmm.
half my body landed into the water. And so I got out, tried to start running to get my heart rate up, and I was running like half a mile to the next one, which was a sandbag carry. And I was running up to it, I started hearing all these like screams and moans and groans, and that was the sandbag carry. It went straight down and straight up, and there was just a bunch of people littered on the side, just like on the ground shaking and like horrible. And
Mm-hmm.
one lady, as I picked up a sandbag, I heard a giant pop from the bottom, and just a horrible scream, and I'm pretty sure the lady like broke her leg or something.
Oh damn.
And so I tried running down, and I ran down pretty fast, but running up, I my legs just like stopped working. Um, but I finally made it up. But by that time, my heart rate had dropped pretty low, and I was getting colder. And so I dropped the sandbag, started running, and it was like not even half a mile to the next water obstacle, which was a swim.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I remember looking at it, and like I couldn't even fathom like jumping into it. And so I just mentally broke, and I started like bawling my eyes out and looking at this volunteer like, "Hey, I can't do this." And then my body started going into spasms, like muscle spasms, and
Mm-hmm. Your body
I
basically
kind of
like
went
went into shock practically just because of everything.
kind of like I never figured out. No doctors have ever been able to tell me what really happened, but like I had a seizure in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like that time, the first time that happened, like my eyes rolled back in my head and I fell on the ground, and then my body just started uncontrollably shaking and spasming. And I remember screaming like, "Hey, don't pull me out of this race! Like, let me keep doing this! Like, I don't want to go." Um, and of course, like I started cussing. I I feel horrible about this, but like I started cussing out the volunteer, like, "Please just let me stay in." And like a medic like told me to shut up, which he was right. I should have. And they load me back up on this gator, drive me up to this building, take me inside, take my shoes, my socks, my jacket, my hat, um, and like other stuff off, and I
Mm-hmm.
still never got that stuff back. Um, and they put just like these lukewarm water bags on me, and I was this whole time I'm still just like uncontrollably shaking, and like mentally I'm just like, what just happened? Like, why is my body doing this? Like, I couldn't walk, I couldn't do anything, um, and I was up. I hadn't even got to that building. I was like on the ground shaking for like 30 minutes, 30 to an hour. And then
Mm-hmm.
they finally got me into this building. In the building, I was there for like another hour.
I was gonna say it was
And then they,
probably the bag thing probably wasn't. They probably didn't have them
hmm?
super warm just because if your body temperature was probably so low that if they would have tried putting you in a hot situation, your body would have just like not been able to handle it.
Maybe,
Because it's
but
something
also
like
like
that.
that room was filled with like, I don't know, 100 people.
Yeah.
Like, had more than 50% of that race got cut and like or dropped out because they all got like hyperthermia and stuff. Like that
Hmm.
race should have been canceled. It was horrible what they did. Like, should have been canceled. Um,
I'm
but then they
surprised they didn't
finally loaded
end
me up.
with like a bunch of lawsuits.
They did. A
Oh,
bunch of
really?
people sued. Yeah, it was
Oh.
bad. Um, they loaded me in this back of this truck and then start driving down, and it takes like another 30, 40 minutes to just drive down for some reason. And I remember it. So I'm sitting there, and this lady is holding me because I'm still like just uncontrollably shaking this entire time. And she's like, "Hey, John, can you turn off the heat? Because it's kind of getting hot back here." And I'm sitting there like, "Screw you,"
Yeah.
because I was still super cold. Um, but they drive me down, put me in the back of an ambulance. The ambulance didn't drive off, but then they stripped all my clothes off, and then threw a bunch of blankets on me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was there for like another hour or two,
I was
and they
gonna
gave me mustard and
say
chicken broth.
mustard.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. Well, I know why. I was cramping.
Oh.
Like so I was shaking, and then all of a sudden my whole body would lock up and just like cramp.
Shit.
And so mustard helps with that.
Yeah.
But they only gave me a packet and chicken broth.
I was gonna say, how long were you out there total? Wasn't it just a weekend? It was like 3 days, right? You were out there like
Yeah, it was just
left
like
Friday
3 or
or
4
something.
days.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
because you were down in Brown County with me the weekend prior, and you came down to hang
Yeah.
out and whatever else, and then I remember why you were there. Like I was working for a bit, and like you went and ran trails and whatever else that day, and did like I swear you did 10 plus miles.
yeah, that was like
just
my
through the
last
park.
big training workout beforehand.
Yeah, and then like I do your leaving whatever else, and then I didn't hear anything until I think that Monday or Tuesday. And then my mom heard something about it and was like, yeah, Noah's in the hospital or something or other. Like, he just got home. I was like, what? Like, wait, what just happened? and it was very random. But, I mean, at one point it makes sense. Obviously, if in general you were saying that you weren't probably physically prepared with what foods you're eating, but obviously everybody had most people had some sort of effect. That it was just that cold that your body just shut down, your muscles just shut down. And because I know in general that's why like people shiver, and that's why you have the chattering that's your body trying to stay warm and create friction and heat. So it's like that happened, but like on a super extreme level in your body practically, and yeah,
it was crazy.
It was
and
weird.
then even afterwards, like I wasn't able to walk properly for like a couple weeks.
Well, part of it was
like
probably between obviously your legs, your muscle spasms. It probably part of it was just your muscles were so tore up and sore
it was
from
nerve.
that. Yeah,
like,
like
I believe it
couldn't
was like
function
nerve
properly.
damage.
Yeah,
I got like my nerves just got damaged, and like every time I stood up, they either like my legs would seize up or I would just have like another spasm. And then I mean for the next several months I just had spasms like consistently. But the first month I definitely like they had to put me in a wheelchair at the airport, which that hurt my pride. But that humbled me real fast.
yeah, probably.
It did. It was.
I mean, considering
like
the shape you were in and how confident you were with fitness in your body, and then ending up in a situation like that where you basically weren't able to function for 2 weeks, and you didn't even get back, but you basically didn't get back to where you were for months and months later before you were actually like, I guess like your body just kind of slowly went back to normal, slowly but surely. You know what I mean? Physically,
it took like
it took a while.
I would say
it took a while.
Now, like finally this year, I think I feel like the most normal I've felt, and everything like yeah. I guess last year I felt pretty finally like recovered from it. So I felt like it took like 2 years to finally
Yeah, I mean it was like
somewhat
it seemed
normal.
like Well, I'm saying like to the point where you're back to training on a regular basis. Is
Yeah,
what I
that
meant.
too.
Yeah, so it probably took you roughly before you're kind of back to where you were on training. Even I think it was at least 6 months or more.
It had to been like
Yeah,
I wasn't even able to do a burpee.
I was.
I
Yeah,
tried, and
it,
it
yeah, I remember you telling me some of the first times you tried working out and you just couldn't like physically between obviously that and just everything. Because I mean, obviously I've never been in that situation, but it's like I know kind of like it's like your body cramped and seized up at times when like your legs would lock, and it's like can't remember why, but I've had that happen before where like I would stretch, and then because of that, my leg would just cramp up and spasm a little bit. Obviously, not to the extent, but that's kind of like what it was for a bit, like where it would just happen more random, and because I mean, obviously,
is that like more of a cramp, you think?
I don't know. Like I don't know. It's kind of because with your situation, it was so weird because obviously they didn't totally figure out why, but it lasted for a while where you would still have the muscle spasms just kind of at whim. Like
it was so weird. Like even we went to a neuroscientist or is that
neurologist.
Yeah, neuroscience. Neurologist, there we go.
Yeah.
To try to figure out what was going on, and he's just like his answer was I think you just have a bunch of PTSD. And I was like, okay. Because I got to deal
Which I
with
feel
that.
like that definitely was part of it, because I mean that's a super traumatic experience. It's like I feel like part of it wasn't because obviously when everything was going on, you were still physically there in the sense or mentally there, in the sense that you wanted to keep going. You knew what was happening, but I feel like your body.
It was the most scary thing.
Well, yeah,
like,
yeah.
It was like admit, it was horrible because
it would have.
Like I don't even know how to properly like explain it.
I mean, you couldn't like, control your body. Minute, I mean, that alone is
like
scary.
1 second, I was like standing and like talking, and I just started breaking down, and then the next, I'm like everything goes black, and then I'm on the ground shaking, and I can't control it. Like I couldn't move. I couldn't. I didn't have any control, and I remember screaming, "What is going on? What is happening to me?" And
it was like at one point it was like your body's most primal, primitive, like survival state of some sort, where like your fight and flight basically kicked in and your body just seized up and collapsed. Like that's kind of what it got to. Is like the body got to a point where it was almost at the breaking point, and that's why it just couldn't handle the pressure you were under between physically obviously running and trying to deal with that, and then the cold conditions and everything piled on top of that, just like threw your nervous system and everything for a loop.
And yeah, I mean, looking back on it now, like I don't know if I would say I'm technically like grateful that it happened, but I'm grateful for everything I've learned from it. Because it definitely, I mean, I'm glad that I had that experience like in the airport in the wheelchair. Like that humbled me a lot, and that gave me a lot of that gave me
give you a different point of view
on like I only had to experience that one time in an airport. Other people have to experience it through every day, and like respect to them, because I know it's not easy, because I got a lot of dirty looks from a lot of people, and a lot of weird looks, and it just a lot of little kids like looked at me weird, and that didn't feel great. And
you basically got put into the shoes of so many others, and it's not something something that everyone necessarily experiences.
Yeah, it was I'm very grateful to be humbled by that. And even like, I mean, the day after, I had that family, like the daughter and the mom and dad, like they had to like help cut up my food, because like I couldn't properly like cut it Like I was able to kind of handle a fork okay. Like sometimes my hands would cooperate, like help me out. Other times they just like spasmed. Um, but I couldn't cut up my food at all. Um, so like they had to cut it up. Like coming home, seeing my mom, she freaked out because I mean the last time she saw me before Tahoe, it was like she saw me running 10 miles, and then the next thing
Mm.
she sees me in a wheelchair, like shaking. Um, so definitely grateful to have different experiences. Like I wasn't able to talk right. I still am not good at talking, but like I was stuttering a lot.
Well, I feel
Like
like that.
um,
I feel like you had some of that beforehand.
no, like this was bad.
I
This
know,
was
I know.
really bad. But you're right.
No,
um,
I know what you mean. I mean, yeah, you. I'm trying to think. I didn't get to see you there for a minute after that happened, and then even then, I'm trying to think because that happened. I was gonna say you still had the muscle spasms and stuff just come out of nowhere for.
a while.
I mean
I
that.
remember the first time you saw me spasm,
Uh huh. And I
and
was just
you
kind
you
of.
seemed pretty scared.
Well, it was very
I don't
shocking.
know if scared's the right word, but
I did know what I was just like
you're like,
like
oh, that's what that is.
a little bit, yeah. Like
I'm built different,
was the first time it
special.
happened, was it when we were in my car?
Yeah, when we were moving you
Yeah.
back up.
I think
Yeah,
it might have been the first time.
it was
And I
like
mean
after. I think we had ice cream. We had ice
something
cream,
and it
and
and it
then
didn't sit
just.
well with your body cuz it
I guess not. My
basically
body's like, hey, this is
that's
cold.
cold.
Let's not
Yeah.
do this again.
We don't like cold. Um and your body was like, "Nah." Like I was going to
Yeah,
say
I
cuz
wasn't
that
able to eat
was
ice cream for the longest time. That sucked.
you couldn't do a lot of shit in the cold. Like it was really
Yeah.
weird. Like you couldn't go to the freezer section practically. Like in a
No,
grocery
yeah, it's
store.
true. I would spasm in this freezer section. It
And at that
sucked.
point, it was like I don't even know if at that point that was a mental thing or it was more like a subconscious nervous system thing where your body was like, "That's cold. Last time we got cold, this is what happened. We don't like cold no more." So it's like whenever you were exposed to cold temperatures, your body would basically spasm, and it was like, nah,
Yeah,
like it
it
was
was.
just it was something you couldn't control. And I mean that when we moved, that was probably April of 2020. So I mean that was 8 months after it happened, roughly,
Yeah,
um, if not more. And I mean I think you still kind of dealt with it for at least another 6 months, but it just like slowly got less frequent over time.
yeah. I mean, I haven't had one in a while. I usually only have one now when I'm talking about it. So like right now, I feel
You
like
feel
I
like
feel it.
attention. You feel attention.
Yeah, I feel like
Hmm.
attention, but like I haven't had one in quite a while. So I'm happy about that. But yeah, that's the
Yeah,
Tahoe story.
yeah. I was gonna say it
Don't
was.
don't race in the cold,
Yeah,
or
don't
do it
go.
will it will
If
humble
so,
you.
be prepared.
Yes, be prepared. Eat the
be
day
prepared.
before.
Eat the day before. Take
Eat
some
lots of
hand
food.
warmers. I don't know. Drink some hot water. I like.
I mean, there's okay. I mean, if we want to go down this path, we could talk about how to properly prepare for a cold race. Like, so don't do what I did.
Yeah.
Like,
Other than that, I don't know.
like 3 days beforehand, make sure you're eating. Like eating carb loading.
Yeah,
Making
true.
sure you're eating enough. Because your body is it burns more calories when it's cold. The morning of, make sure you eat something good, like an hour before the race.
You,
Make sure you have layers. If it's an obstacle course race and there's water, make sure you have plastic bags, and if possible, also bring some food with you during the race because that's going to help. With the plastic bags, if you're going to jump into the water, so take your jacket, take your gloves off, basically take what you can off and put it in those plastic bags and seal them. Because there's a rule that you have to, whatever you have on you, you have to take with you into the water. Um,
Well,
and
that's
yeah,
mean.
that's probably how, I know, that's probably how you could survive a cold race. That's how a lot of people did.
Yeah.
Um,
But even then, it's still not easy either way. Like,
Still not
yeah.
easy, but it's doable.
Yeah,
Like if
yeah,
I did it
exactly.
right, I could have finished, but I wasn't properly prepared. So, but
And
also the race
obviously, it
should have been
sounded
canceled.
it sounded like Spartan themselves weren't prepared.
They were not. The CEO was like, "This is the world championship. We're going to do it no matter what." Like there was a rule that the water and the air temperature had to be a certain degree.
Which
And
makes sense. I mean, it's just
it
a
makes
safety
sense, and
standard
it
at that
was
point.
way off, like way below it.
Mhm.
Like it was very, very cold.
Yeah,
So
that's a little crazy.
also Spartan sucks, but
Well, so
don't.
that's the Tahoe story. I mean, that's what we alluded to. That was Noah's. I mean, basically near death experience. I mean, honestly, the way
One of
you
them.
talked in general with everything, you made it seem like it was no big deal. Like when you talked to me afterwards, you're like, "Yeah, this happened," and I'm like, "What?" And you're like, "I almost died," and I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Please elaborate," because you're being so vague, and I was just like, "I saw you 6 days ago. If that, you were perfectly fine, everything's good. Now you're back, and something happened." Like it was so random because yeah, it was like last time I saw you, all good. And then a trip 2,000 miles away later and not so good.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know. That's just kind of my mindset into it is just like
I mean, anything can happen.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like it happened. Now it's time to work
It could have
on,
been
like,
worse.
getting
It could have
better.
been a lot worse.
It could have been worse. Like
Yeah.
could have been a lot worse. Something I don't know what else could have happened. I could have died.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I so
I could have died, but I was fine. You know what it was? It was
I was fine. I
you
lived.
you were taking your omega-3s. That means you're less likely to die.
Yes.
That I
So
I have seen a study about that. That is true. Apparently, for some reason,
Really?
overall mortality rate for people that have higher omega-3 levels is down. It like lowers the overall mortality rate by 17%. They don't totally
There you
know
go.
why, but it's
Take
in
some
all
omega-3s
categories.
then. So that's another way to survive hyperthermia. Take
just
your
take some
omega-3s.
Omega-3s.
You know?
Eat something spicy beforehand. Get your body heated up on the inside. Like,
Just
I don't
take a whole bottle of sriracha with you. Just
honestly,
instead of water, just drink
Mhm.
sriracha. There you go.
there could be worse ideas, to be honest.
I bet someone has done it. Oh, wait, no. No, I'm not of the legal drinking age. But
Oh,
it is
yeah,
a big topic
100% whiskey. Ooh,
big
yep.
topic in endurance racing. Like after some endurance races, no, I don't consume it. But a lot of people they'll pass around Fireball.
Just hard whiskey in general would help.
Or that
Yeah.
whatever. So just
Makes sense.
just run a Spartan
just-
race in the cold drunk.
Just have a
and you'll be
flask.
good.
Just have a flask, and whenever you get cold, just take a little swig of that. I'll heat you up real
Little
well.
sip. There you go.
I mean, there's definitely like we're saying, there's definitely worse plans. Doesn't mean we necessarily condone you do that. But, I mean, worse has happened. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
in marathons they give out like beer and stuff near
Really?
the end.
no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it's pretty normal.
I mean, fair enough. I wouldn't know, but that's interesting.
Hey, well, you're about to. Let's sign you up for marathon. Let's get on it. I'll do it
Oh,
with you.
Lord.
I'll fly out wherever you want me to.
Oh man, I mean, It's something I definitely want to do eventually. Yeah, for sure. Like, and just in general, like a Spartan race and stuff like that. You got a point. You do got a point there. Shit.
Just do like anybody can do a marathon. Okay, even like you could do a marathon tomorrow. Would it be your best time? Would you feel your best? No, you'd be very
sore.
But you could do it.
That's true.
Like, so just
I might not be running by the end of it, but
yeah, but that's fine. Like, but
well, that's the thing. If I do it, like part of it in my head is I want to be able to do it continuously. I want to get to the point where I know my body better when it comes to running, where I could pace myself and be able to actually have like a decent, consistent time. Like, at least that's in my head. Like, even doing a mini marathon or whatever, like, or half, like, I would want to do the same thing. Like, if I want to do it, I don't want to, like, run for 2 miles and then stop halfway, because if so, I would feel defeated. And and even if I would do it and complete it, like, yeah, that's awesome, but it wouldn't be the same.
I get that. Yeah, I understand that.
Because even last year when I did that last 5K, I did not prepare at all. And I did not carb load or anything beforehand. And I cramped up super bad about halfway through, where my calf just basically gave out. And I wasn't able to finish.
That was probably more like a electrolyte issue.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Potassium.
Like, because for a 5K, you don't technically need a carb load too much.
No, yeah, definitely not like a marathon, but I definitely did not prepare the best. Let's just say this time I
think we should get you
take care of
get you into like a half marathon. Let's get you a half marathon. That would be fun.
But I was gonna say, speaking of Tough Mudders and stuff like that, I did listen to Joe Rogan's podcast. I think this was last week. He had this guy on, Brandon Schwab. He's a comedian and he used to be a UFC fighter. And he actually did some Tough Mudders and whatever else. And since he has a following online, he actually did like a partnership with Tough Mudder. And so he has his own races, I think, called, what is it? Thick Mudders or something? Like, he calls himself like the Thick Boy Squad or something. Is like that's what he calls his fans. So he basically does his own Tough Mudder that is just people that are his fans that sign up. And then they all run it together and stuff.
That is actually so cool. I'll have to look into that.
And he just got into it, like, I think really randomly. And he was talking about it with Joe Rogan and stuff. And he was just like, yeah. And now we have this. And he basically has his own race with Tough Mudder. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool.
I'm going to have to look into that. That sounds pretty cool.
But, well, I was going to say, kind of transitioning from Tahoe, I think we were going to kind of talk about our stories since you've been out in Oregon. Obviously, you have stories because you've lived there for 2 years straight. I don't have a whole lot just from the couple times I've been out. But, like, right after Tahoe, I mean, basically a year later, you were moving out to Oregon for college and to run cross-country at OCR for good old Umpqua Community College.
Woo. Greatest community college in the Northwest.
The Eagles.
Not really.
I don't know what's your mascot?
I can't say that. It's a Riverhawk.
Oh, I was close. I said Eagles. I mean, that's a bird.
It's close.
They're both
I don't
birds.
know why at the start of races we don't go caw. I feel like we should.
Just like
I should start that.
Like, just in the middle of races, people like look at you and try trash talking, and you just like yell back, "Caca!"
Actually, in cross country, I don't like myself in cross country because I'm not that nice when I'm running because I get really competitive, and if people like cut me off, I'm not very nice. Like, I don't kick them or hit them, but like this one little skinny kid, he's cut in front of me this one time, and I'm like, if you do not move right now, I'm going to kill you. And he moved out of my way. And I don't know if I said I'll kill you, but I definitely was like, bro, you better move out of my way right now. And he did. I don't think I said I'll kill you, but
That's a
I'm
little
not
rough.
I'm not nice. I don't like it.
But well, okay, so I guess we were gonna talk about that, but in general, I guess yeah, like on the topic of you doing races and everything, like you've been super involved in fitness for 10 plus years. You've weight trained, you've basically done anything in the book. You've done like weightlifting stuff. That's how you train. You would do like Tabatas and you would run 5Ks all the time. You did marathons. You did anything and everything. The 40-hour endurance events. I mean, you're the person that got me into fitness. The first time I ever actually weightlifted, was with you, and that was terrible. And considering you do want to become a personal trainer, whatever else, you definitely have the attributes for it, because holy shit,
Thank you.
did I dislike you at times in the middle of those workouts. But
I get that
hey,
a lot.
like that's part of it though. Like now I would take it a lot more. Like I take it way better. But like shit, when you first get into something like that, it especially the shape I was in, oh man, it's just like, shut up. No, I don't want to do more squats. Because I think the first day I worked out with you was a leg day. And that's what we started with. And it was so bad. I think by the end of it, between doing back squat, goblet squats, body weight squats, box jumps, I think we did all sorts of shit. I can't even remember all of it. I did hundreds of squats.
I can't remember.
We might have did a warm up.
I don't know.
But I can't remember.
I wouldn't say hundreds. I don't know. I have, so like my training philosophy is that when you first get into working out, you should really focus on the legs. Like the legs
That's super
can
important,
take a
yeah.
beating.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you build up your legs, really everything else will come a little easier.
Everything follows for sure. Like the worst thing to do is to not do legs.
Yeah, like when in doubt, train legs.
Mm-hmm. And in general, just like when it comes to weightlifting, like legs are so good because usually you can do more weight than you can with upper body on a lot of exercises when it comes to focusing on legs, just because like the muscles in your legs are just freaking ginormous. I think I saw something where it's like men on average like have 80% more like muscle mass in their legs compared to women. Like guys in general, we have thick boy thighs. Like if you like,
well, some of us.
That's true. Not everybody.
Some
not
people,
everybody.
they got some small legs.
That's true.
Man, you need to start doing some squats.
Yeah, 100%.
Build that booty, especially around runners, man. Some of these track runners, all they do is run, and they got some chicken legs.
That's fair, but they got a different build. So I mean, it is what it is. It depends on what you're going for.
Kick my butt. So,
but I was gonna say that the worst thing though is starting with legs legs are super important. But man, that first day was rough because I could hardly walk for the rest of the week.
Yeah, I probably did go. Like, definitely when I started out training people, I definitely pushed some people too hard.
Which, I mean, it's good. I mean, it's not like I died, but
yeah,
it just because you were so used to running at a certain RPM, and you were like, well, why isn't he doing that? It's like,
well, yeah, I mean, I hadn't learned by then. I'm like, I gotta take this back a few notches for each individual person I train with. Like,
yeah, it just depends on the person.
Each person is different.
Well, I mean, even at that point in time, I mean, you would at times do workouts with weight vests and stuff, depending on what you were trying to do that day. But I mean, at that point in time, I probably still weighed more than you with a weight vest, and I had a lot less muscle than you did. So just some of this stuff was rough. But I mean, I'm thankful for it because it definitely got me into a better routine and everything, and just I enjoy weightlifting a lot. I mean, but it's something I do enjoy, just being part of my routine every day.
And
it's nice.
I'm really impressed by you throughout the years that like from that first session to now, like very proud of the progress you've made and I'm grateful that I was able to at least, help
Kickstart it. Give me along.
yeah, kickstart it. Like I'm I'm very grateful that we had those, early mornings training. Like that was
Oh
a lot of
man, oh
fun.
my lord. It
A
was, and I
lot
got
of
more
fun.
used to it, but man, that first couple weeks I was like, "Oh fuck, I got to get up at 3." Like, so I just started a new job at that point, which is where I work now. And it was technically
hmm
my first full-time job, at least in that sense. And so I would wake up at, I think, 4, and I had to be at your place by 5 or 4:30. What was it? It might
It
have
was
been.
it was like
It might have been 5.
because you had to go to work at
I
8, right?
I had to be there by 7:30, so I was usually leaving like
So it was probably
about
5.
7. So I
Yeah,
think I was there by
4:30 or 5.
So I was probably getting up at like 4:30. I'd be at your place by like 5. We'd train for about an hour or a little
hmm
more depending on the day, and then we kind of bullshit. You would eat, and then I'd go home, shower, and head to work. So I did that 3
hmm
days a week. So yeah, it was. I mean, it was fun though. I mean, there was definitely some days I feel like I was more up to it than you were. Every once in a while, like,
Oh
there's some
yeah,
mornings
dude.
I was
Some
like, I'm
days
awake. I don't know what's on or what's going on, but I'm actually like, I'm here this morning.
because I definitely didn't prioritize sleep back then, and
you
yeah,
s-
some days when I was waking up, I'm like, I do not want to have to like talk to anybody for the
and
next 5 hours. But
I'm like, hey, I'm here
you
already.
pushed me. You definitely pushed me to on a lot of those workouts.
I was like, well, because at one point I feel like I got into I like now looking back at it, I could tell like even after doing it for a bit because we did that probably for what I'm trying to think, maybe 3 months
Yeah, I would say so.
roughly. And I
Yeah.
mean, like once we got into it, I definitely had more enthusiasm. Like I would get in there, and I remember sometimes I'd already be it over at the gym before you were. Sometimes you were there before me, and then I
hmm
would be like, so what are we hitting today? Like what's the plan? Like you're like, I have
I
no
know.
clue.
I was
And
like, I haven't written it up yet, but
yeah, and
because
just
I was definitely like I was planning workout. I try to plan workouts like a week before, but some of the times I was just planning it like a
off
couple
the fly.
minutes beforehand.
Yeah, but hey, it works. It works. As long as you do
It did.
something. I mean, that's basically it. As long as you're
Yeah,
getting
just
some something in, some movement, get some of that weightlifting,
honestly,
get
like
that
just pick
resistance.
3 movements and do pick 3 movements and do EMOM every minute on the minute. Um, so like push-ups, squats, and burpees,
Hmm.
and then like add a minute of rest, and then just do that for 10, 20 minutes, and
Yeah, I was
that's
gonna
one
say I
heck
don't
of a workout.
do a lot of body weight stuff now, but I mean also at the gym
Yeah,
I'm at, I don't have a lot of room to do that. But I mean,
yeah, but see,
it's
starting out,
it's a good
like
way to
I
start.
feel like we did a
100%.
lot of body weight
We
stuff,
did.
and that's how I like starting people out. Because if you're able to move your body, and you're able to, do push-ups, pull-ups, squats like properly just with your body weight for like I don't
It
know
helps.
a
Yeah.
year, that's going to help so much when you get to weightlifting. Because then you're
Hmm.
going to be able to move the weight properly and not injure yourself.
Yeah, true. And that's one thing. I mean, yeah, there's some days in general either depending on how I'm feeling or the amount of time because I got something going on. There's some days I might only technically do like 3 or 4 things if that. But I mean, I always make sure I get it in, and most of the time it's compound exercises, it's bigger lifts, so it's not just like I just go in and do curls. Like I don't think I ever have a day where I'm just like I'm just gonna do a bunch of curls today. Like I never do just super isolated like that. I usually try hitting like bigger, more compound lifts just to get like more of my body into it. and it's like
Mm-hmm.
if I at least get those big workouts or the big lifts in, and I at least get that stuff in, I'm definitely more happy with myself for sure than if I just went in
Oh
and
yeah.
was like, I'm gonna do curls. And it's like, I mean, that's good to incorporate, but it's definitely the more complex stuff that's like good for you. And that was one thing even after you left, I got a gym membership myself and started going in
Yeah.
um basically 5 times a week, or I try to as best as I can.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't do deadlift really at all for a while because I was like, man, I don't want to mess up my form. I don't want to do
Yeah.
something because I know it's a very if you don't do it right, in particular, deadlift can definitely be damaging. And
Oh yeah.
so I mean, there was stuff that I was like, I had to learn to do more on my own and just kind of figure it out and learn new exercises and new lifts and make sure I just basically had good form and just picked it up from there. And I mean, you were
And
still
you did really good at it too. Like we hit our 1 rep maxes the last time you were here,
hmm
and I mean you kicked my butt on I think all of them. I think you beat me on
yeah.
maybe not. No, I think I got you on
Bench
bench.
bench we did the same, I'm pretty sure. I
Yeah,
think we stopped at the
deadlift.
same.
Yeah, but squat you really blew it out of the water.
But I mean,
So
you say that, but oh man, when I would watch you do, well, we did PR back at your place, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I've only been lifting for like 2 months, and then I see you and you're like, just keep loading the rack, and I'm like, what the fuck? Holy shit! I'm like, wow,
yeah,
okay,
and back then I was focused on weightlifting. Now it's like
a lot more,
I'm
mostly
focused on
cardio.
running,
Yeah, it's
mostly cardio.
like 90%,
So
pretty much.
yes,
And so like now you say that it's like, yeah, I was able to outlift you, but also you're training twice a day. At that point I did work out for like 4 days, and plus since you've been out in Oregon you've probably lost what, like 25 to 30 pounds of muscle practically.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I mean, hey.
Actually, I weighed myself this morning, and I swear my scale is wrong. Um, but like I I weighed in at like 150 when like 2 weeks ago I weighed in at like 168. Like how
Hmm.
how is that possible?
What have you been doing? Did you forget to eat?
I mean, I stopped eating so much, but
That might be
like
part
I
of it.
don't want to lose that much weight.
Yeah, you gotta at least maintain no matter what.
But I also have been doing. I did a lot of really hard workouts this past week,
Yeah, no,
so
yeah,
maybe I don't know.
it's
Maybe it's just water weight. I don't know.
you're like,
I'm gonna weigh myself again tonight,
who
and
knows now?
hopefully it's
It's higher.
like still in the 160s.
Yeah, yeah. But no, like weightlifting is so good, and I don't know, I enjoy it. It's just like cardio is good, like, but for me personally, it's definitely the thing I enjoy less. Like, and I feel like that's
Mhm.
most people. That's definitely not everyone.
Oh yeah,
But it's taxing because it's definitely more of a mental game than weightlifting is.
100%.
Like,
Yeah,
cardio is basically 90% in your head, and the rest just kind of like takes over. Obviously, you gotta pace yourself and kind of figure out your body's rhythm, but other than that, it's just making yourself keep going for the most
it is.
part.
It's so difficult. Like I'm like running. I love running, but it's definitely so mental.
Hmm.
Like weightlifting, weightlifting is still hard.
Yeah, but it's so
Especially at the
different.
elite
Yeah,
level. Like it's super hard. But I would say I
it's just
hope
a
I
whole
don't get
different
like
game. Like
I hope I don't
it's
get a lot of hate on this, but
mm.
like I would almost say like lifting is easier than running.
No, yeah, no, I would
Um,
agree because I feel like weightlifting at one point to an extent when you get to a certain point or you're trying to PR or whatever on a person by person basis, can be mental when you're lifting that heavy. And every once in a while, just every workout can be a mental thing at times, just to get through it and make sure you get what you want done. But it's definitely more of it's short term. Like most of the time it's like, okay, you're doing, depending on what you're trying to do, you're doing 5 to maybe 20 reps a set. So it's like, it's a more short term thing where you basically, depending on what you're doing, you just go until you physically can't. But like running is like, human body is built to do that repetitively for a long time. Like literally, I think studies have been shown that over long distances, like humans basically have the highest endurance, just because like if we want to, a human can, obviously not at a sprint, but a human can basically jog and run for like 40-50 miles if really need be, like in a most survivalistic extent.
Yeah, humans are the best long distance animal in the whole world. Yeah, like we're not the fast, like cheetahs are the fastest sprinters.
Yeah,
but we're the fastest long distance. Like we can hold that pace for so long. Like we can. There's tribes in Africa that how they hunt is they just run down I don't know, whatever animal they're running down, and they just run for so long that the animal dies. Like just
pretty much
flops over and gives up.
They basically just follow it,
which is really cool.
And so it's like, that's definitely something that's like in our head that we can do, but part of it is like nowadays you don't have that mental taxation. It's like back then, or even in the tribes, or like back in hunter and gathering days, it's like you were doing this because you need that animal to survive. Like you have an absolute reason to keep running, to keep tracking this animal, and just to keep going no matter how far it goes. You got to get that animal. But it's like when you go to just do a marathon or certain things, like obviously there is a goal at the end of the tunnel, but it's different. It's not a necessity. It's more of like you want to do it more for yourself. So it's like it's harder to keep your mind set in that way of thinking. Like, so it makes it more challenging. So I would say, like you said, I think especially mentally, like I feel like long distance running and cardio to that extent is definitely, I feel like, harder than overall weightlifting for the most part. Just because it's hard to motivate yourself every once in a while just to do a regular weightlifting workout, but to go run for freaking 3 hours or something, if you're training for a marathon or you're just just doing a marathon is hard. Like it's a lot different.
It's so difficult, but I mean, I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's helped me a lot mentally and with so many things. But yeah, definitely would say running's harder than weightlifting.
Yeah. But yeah, I think most people could probably agree on that. But
yep.
You still got to do a little bit of both. It's always good to do. Doesn't matter what you do.
Yes, it's great to do a bit of both. Definitely, like it helps. Weightlifting helps prevent injuries, and I think it can keep you
as you age.
Whatever sport you do, I think you should do weightlifting, because I think weightlifting
weight resistance is so good because it just keeps your body stronger, like physically stronger.
Like it will keep you in the game longer. It will help with longevity in the sport.
100%. Just in life, like that's I think technically the highest rate of mortality is basically like elderly people falling over and like breaking a hip or something and then basically dying from internal bleeding. And it's like part of that happens because obviously I don't see a lot of people that are in the upper ages necessarily super active for the most part, but like weightlifting in particular and doing certain exercises like that are so good because it strengthens your bones, it strengthens your joints and your tendons, so you have better balance. Like it just makes you a more solid, like it literally just makes your body more solid, even if you're not ripped. Just doing it is good for your body, just to have weight.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and it's always a good time, and it's good to definitely do. Like it. That's one thing. Like at this point, it's like
every aspect of life.
even if I don't work out 5 times a day or 5 times a day, what? 5 times a week or whatever when I'm older, like I'm
wish
definitely
I could work out 5 times a day. That would be great.
I'm definitely hitting the gym for the rest of my life at least 3 times a week for sure, if not more. And I'm doing something like and it's just like it's like I want to weightlift as long as I can. Like I know there's times I want to PR and I want to push myself, but at the same time, I'm not going to go super crazy because I want the longevity of it. It's like I want to be able to do this till I'm 65, 70 if possible. Obviously, probably going to be different weight, but even just being able to do stuff like that is impressive at that age. So to do that, it's like I don't need to screw up my joints now or my back by like trying to lift 500 pounds when I definitely can't lift 500 pounds on deadlift or something crazy.
Yeah, that definitely break some stuff.
Yeah. People that ego lift or I see in the gym like that, it's just like, damn. Like there's some people you can do that can just do it, and then there's others. It's like, why? Like most people at the gyms like we were talking about are pretty solid people, but the thing I've seen at my gym in particular are teenagers and like middle schoolers, some high schoolers that come in there. Some are cool, but then there's others that are. It's like, what are you doing? Like some of the kids I've seen are practically still prepubescent, and I'm like, why are you in here? Like obviously it's good for you to work out, but the stuff you're trying to do is just like, why? Like some of the kids I've seen do like cable rows and stuff that probably is the same weight as me, but they're definitely a lot smaller than I am. And it's because they're using their whole body's momentum to pull the cable back and this and that. Or I saw a kid doing a plate on bench, and he was able to basically do 1 rep, and he was arching himself so much, basically his whole lower half was off the bench. Like it's basically just his shoulder blades on the bench. Ooh. And he bounced it off of his chest when he did it. And I was like, dude, why? Like don't. Ooh, I was like, there's physically no point. Like it just made no sense. Like people at gyms won't judge you except for your form. Like people that actually lift won't care what the hell you're doing or necessarily, unless they look over and your form's shit, and then they're just sitting there like, what the fuck is that guy doing? Like because I've done it, and it's like, or like people that just like, when I see people momentum lift and do stuff along those lines or whatever, it's like, why? It's like you're just trying to show off. It's like, unless you're doing it at the very end of your set and you're trying to get one more rep out or something, like that's different. But when you're doing it the whole time, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like I understand it because I used to do that, like ego lift when I was younger, but definitely stay humble. Like
100%.
Realize your limits, realize that you have to start somewhere, and that even if you just have to do the bar, like that's okay. Like everyone has to start somewhere.
I mean, I basically did. I think the first time we did bench, I mean, that was the first time I ever did it, and I think I did maybe 10-pound plates on there. Like I didn't have shit on the bar. Like I struggled to like.
And now look at you. I'll bench. Well, we benched the same.
Yeah,
but still,
yeah.
I think you could outbench me.
I was gonna say we definitely did not rest very much between sets that day for bench.
No, we did not.
Hey,
and that was
all right.
This might just be an excuse for me, but that was also after like some really hard workouts.
No, I knew you were sore, and especially when we did squat, I could tell like your leg kind of went out there for a second.
Yeah,
but
my legs didn't like that. But still.
But hey, it happens. But no, it's just like everybody comes from somewhere, and I guess I'm kind of glad, but that I came when I started when I did, one like mentally with my age, like I've changed so much mentally from when I graduated that I am not the same person by any means. I'm not the same person I was a year ago, and
I can definitely tell. Like you've grown a lot.
we both have, definitely. And
Yes.
and it's just like I'm happy when I got into it, and I am humbled by it because I was working out with you in particular, because you're basically like one of the fittest people in our county practically, especially for your age. Like the stuff you were doing was pretty crazy for someone that was not like,
Thank you.
definitely people doing like roids or something stupid. Like definitely probably one of the most physical fit people around in our area easily.
Thank you.
And so it was like, there's me that's never done it, overweight, and couldn't lift. Then I'm working out with you, and I'm like, damn. So it was definitely like, I feel like it honestly helped me, because it's like I knew I started basically from the bottom, and it was even a wake up call for me. Like I got humbled because for some reason I thought just because I was big or broad shouldered, I had some sort of strength from being in 4-H or whatever, and then it got into like actually weightlifting, and then seeing what you could do and what I could actually do. I was like, oh wow, I can't do shit. Like, so it was.
I mean, we all gotta start somewhere.
Oh no, 100%. That's why now it's
such an awesome journey to see
Oh.
someone, starting from day one to
day
like
200.
now, even
Very
a
well,
year later,
yeah.
just seeing the result. It's just one quote I really like from this guy Nick Bear is show up and be consistently can be consistently good rather than consistently great,
I
which
think I've seen
basically
that
just
quote.
means like show up and put in the work consistently. Like you will not feel like doing it
Consistency
each
is
day,
key.
but as long as you just keep at it, you just day in and day out, you just keep focusing on it. Your results are going to show up, and each day will not be great. You're going to have a lot of days where you just feel like crap and you don't want to do it, but do it anyways.
I mean, half of the battle is just
months,
starting. Like,
yeah, because
most of the time with the
months
workouts, just get into
afterwards,
it.
yeah, or a year afterwards, you're going to see the results, and it's going to pay off,
Yeah.
and you're going to thank yourself for that. Like with me, when I was trying to get big and be like bodybuilding, and I had a certain goal I wanted to hit. It was that I knew that, okay, I'm going to do these three workouts a day, which I don't recommend my training. The training I put myself through, I do not. But I knew what I needed to do to achieve my goal, and so I just consistently showed up. And then, 3-4 months later, I reached my goal, and that was just because I just kept showing up, and I put on 15 or 20 pounds, which probably wasn't all muscle, but I got big, and
Yeah.
or
Bigger.
big to me in my mindset.
You were pretty big for your size. Yeah. Like you're a big guy.
I mean,
You had big arms.
I felt big around other runners because
Oh, you
the
were
runners
easily.
had nothing, and I looked so out of place. I did not look like I was supposed to be there.
No, I mean you still kind of do, and that's what's funny.
I still do.
Especially when
Like
you
that.
first went
Did
out
you see
to
the
Oregon.
picture I posted?
Oh my lord! Like your
Did you
first,
see that picture I posted on Instagram?
maybe I don't know. I might have not, but I know like seeing some of your first pictures out there with the team when like you 1st moved out to Oregon, and you're like 50 pounds heavier than one of your teammates, and you could tell that it's basically all muscle. It's you're just freaking giant compared to him, and it's like, Noah, you seem out of place here. It's like one of these things just doesn't belong here.
I look like a rhino compared to everybody else.
It's hilarious, but no, it's the one thing I figured out with just fitness and health is like it's a journey. Like it's nothing that going into it's like most people expect stuff quickly, and it's like no, most of the time it's you just got to stay consistent, and as long as you stay consistent, you'll get your goals, and it just takes time.
Yes.
And it just takes effort, and it might take, depending on what you're trying to do or how hard you're pushing for it, it might take you a year. But I mean, as long as you stay after it and you keep working towards it, you're gonna just slowly get closer and closer to it.
Yeah, it's a really cool process. It's not easy, but
Nothing worth doing is easy.
No, that's true. That is true. But, well, I mean, I think we've definitely crossed the 130 mark. I think we're probably about roughly
We're about
145
almost
roughly.
2 hours. Dude,
Yeah.
I didn't feel like 2 hours.
No, it definitely did not. This might be our longest podcast, or it's going to be roughly about the same as last week's. But
Yeah.
I feel like it was a pretty good conversation. It's cool to kind of break down your story with Tahoe and
Yeah, I hope
OCR
everybody enjoyed it.
and
Like,
fitness.
Let us know. Yeah.
But I will let you guys know that if you're still listening to the podcast, I guess maybe I should have done this at the beginning. You can listen to us on Spotify, YouTube channel. We have an Instagram. We'll post when we're posting every week on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and not only that, but you can, if you don't have Spotify Premium or whatever else, you can download Anchor for free and listen to our podcast on Anchor itself. And if you have any questions or comments, you can actually leave us voice messages using the Anchor app. So consider that if there's something you want to leave or something you want to ask. That's pretty cool. So we can do something along those lines. But no, we enjoy the support, and if you're enjoying everything, just follow and like the video or however you're listening to this. But we appreciate it.
Yes, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Barbells and Trails Podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then you can also, leave comments and then see us and see our beautiful faces.
I was gonna say we're definitely gonna try posting more, hopefully on all platforms. Maybe not podcast wise, but when it comes to YouTube and stuff on Instagram and stuff, we're gonna try find ways to post more. So just keep a lookout for that. But I think we're all good. I think we kind of went through it for this week. So I hope everybody enjoyed, and we will see you guys all in the next one.
Have a great week.
Yep. Everybody have a great week. See ya.